Hello, and welcome to this week's episode of The PV Show.
I always say in life, everything you do, you want to start with your why. The reason why you're going to another country is because you want something out of it. And you never forget about what you want, because a lot of us, when we do get somewhere, we always think it's the destination is what matter. The destination is important, but the journey is the most important.
All right, so we will go straight to our discussion for today.
Yeah, for sure.
We are taking a look at how immigrants can succeed in a foreign land, especially in Europe and America. But then, Patrick, if you could give us a little introduction about yourself. Firstly, if you could give us a little introduction about yourself.
Yeah, for sure. So for my background, it's a little bit different. I was actually born over in Canada. And then when I was born over here, after 4 years, I moved back to Vietnam. That's where my parents' home country is. I grew up all my life back in Vietnam. I used to go to school all the way from grade 1 to grade 12. Also started my business back in Vietnam as well. But there was just too much corruption happening over in Vietnam. So I decided I wanted a better life. That's when I decided to move back over to Canada and then start my life from the very beginning again as well. Went to school over to UBC, studied for computer science and economics. While I was actually going to school, one of my friends was introducing me to financial services. I didn't have any experience in the financial industry, and I didn't really want to go in because I was not really good at numbers. But one of the big reasons why I wanted to learn more about finance is that I noticed even my relative who've been in Canada for over 25 to 30 years, they never really learned how to manage their own finances. They don't really understand how mortgages work. They don't understand how saving, how does those investing, any sort of things that's related to financial literacy. They never had that type of knowledge. That's kind of why I decided to stay in the industry to help people like myself and other immigrants coming to a new country. We have no experience. We only know what we know from maybe our friends or peers, but that's all we know. To get very interesting facts, it's not possible to do it through the internet. That's why I kind of went into the industry to help people more of my culture, but at the same time, help other people from different cultures as well.
Okay, that's great. But then, let me put it this way. You see, usually from where I am coming from, we have a perception that life up there is very nice, very simple, very easygoing. How do you how do you see life up there? Is it as how we are seeing it down here? Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we all kind of come from the same mindset. We think like North America, Europe, or over in the US, or even just like America in general. It's kind of like it's the dream and it's true. There is a lot of things that great opportunity. We think there is like money on trees you can just pull down. That is a true behind that. But at the same time, it's only for those who are willing to step up. It's only actually available to the people who actually landed in the country, but they did not stay where they were, but they keep on fighting. I feel like a lot of us, especially as immigrants, we see like we come to this place is the best opportunity there is, but it's just the beginning. What we actually do within this country, that's what actually makes up for everything else. I see too many of us, we kind of come over here and we settle. And that is something we should never think about, because a lot of time what people do when they come to this country, this side of the world, we're making a lot of money, but we're also working very hard. A lot of us, we actually end up going back to our home country because we say cost of living is too much. A lot of people, they always compare the currency. Oh, in Canada, if let's say I convert Canadian over to Vietnam, then I can become like a high income earner over there just by being a middle income in Canada. And that type of mentality is what is going to be very bad for us in the later on in the future, because we always have a back door. We're always thinking on the negative side. We never want to think like that. If we want to prosper in a country, especially with full opportunity, we can only think one way: to go in the country and excel in exactly whatever we're doing over there. We should never give up. And that is the only way we can get to the actual dream we wanted to have, which is what we've always thought about.
All right, all right. Thank you very much. But before we go to the next question, we want to um, take a look at your personal life. You are going to share
Okay.
some of your experiences with us over
Yeah.
the past years since you decided to migrate into another country. How has
Yeah.
life been for you?
I would say it's a very big culture difference.
Okay.
Over here is not as feeling like home as when you get back home.
Mm.
In the Vietnamese culture, everybody kind of know everybody. Your
Yeah.
neighbors know each other. It's very easy in the community. It's very community based. Coming to a country as developed as Canada, it is very developed, but I feel like we kind of lose the connection. A lot of people they kind of have a wall. It's very hard to interact with people and make friends. And I feel like because of that, that is kind of where we are as a society today. We don't feel as connected compared to back home. So for me, it was a really big culture shock and just communicating with other people.
Mm. Wow. That's that's a serious one. But then is it easy to succeed in a foreign land? Is it very, very easy to succeed in a foreign land?
That's actually a very funny question. A lot of people they ask me back in Vietnam as well. The answer to that question, there is nothing easy in life, and if there's anything that's easy, it's not worth it.
Mm,
The life over here is very simple, but not very easy.
mm,
The same struggle someone is having back home, we will also have the same struggle here, but in a different context. However, the mindset that we want to have is always not to just like talk about where we are now, is to see where we'll be in the next 5, 10, 15 years. As long as we have that type of mindset, then whatever happens come to our way, we can always overcome it.
okay. 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 All right. So
Yeah, I
would you
hope that
yeah, hello.
Mhm.
Okay, okay, I can hear you now.
Okay.
Would you suggest any business um migrants can venture into when they travel into a foreign land? You know, sometimes people travel into
Mhm.
foreign lands and they don't know where to start from. They don't know what really works for people in that
Mhm.
particular country. When you go into any country
Mhm.
at all,
Yep.
what business can be very easy for you to venture into to become more successful? Yeah.
Okay, that's actually a very good question. This might be a little bit biased because I'm working in the industry itself. I would
Okay.
actually suggest in the financial industry. The
Okay.
reason why I think it's actually the best industry and the easiest one to move into is because it doesn't matter if we're a doctor, engineer, lawyer, the most successful people in the world, at the end of the day, we're earning money.
Okay.
And a lot of us, we don't really know what to do with money, even though after we earn a six-figure income. At the end of the day, if we can manage the most important thing, which is about our finances, everything else will come second. It will be a lot easier. That's why I kind of go into the industry, which is in finance. Is because once we have that part clear, anything else we want to do is a lot easier. You want to open up a business in bakery, your finances is settled, you can focus on bakery. If you want to open a car mechanic, you can go into that, but you want to make sure your foundation is set first. So I always tell people you have to understand what country you're going into and how the economic system works over there. Every country is completely different. There's positive and negative within the country, but you want to figure it out. You want to get the facts straight. You don't want to get the opinion of people because a lot of us, we get opinions, but we don't get facts. And where we get facts is that we have to go and study and actually venture out and find that information. So for me, to answer your question, is the financial industry. I would still say
Okay.
that is a foundation. Everything else you build on top of that.
Mm. Wow. Thank you very much. But then, you know, when you're traveling into a foreign land,
Mhm.
you made mention of getting the foundation, getting a strong
That's right.
foundation. But then you get into a country where you really don't know anybody. Where
Yes.
from? What do you do? You have no idea about anything. What do you do? Yeah.
Yes. There's actually a really great book that is called How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's by Dale Carnegie. It's a
Okay.
very, very good book and is always very applicable to any type of situation. I always tell people if you put me in the middle of nowhere,
Mm,
at the end of the day, I can make friends with almost everyone. The big reason for that is because as long as you're true to yourself and you want to make a connection with others, people also want to do the same. And when two people want to make a connection together, that's how you build your contact. Even
okay.
coming to Canada, I didn't know anybody. But at the
Whoa.
same time, I also know a lot of people as well.
Wow. Wow. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for this. Okay, so one of our audience sent another question,
Mhm.
and it goes like this. What about students that are what about students? What about students? Are there some possible ways of succeeding in any business, though they are still students? You know, some countries would not allow you to work whilst, I mean, if
That's
you
correct.
actually came there for studies, they want you to focus on your studies
That's
and not to
correct.
come and work. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So you get into a country where things are tight for you and you want to do something for your upkeep. What are some of the possible business avenues you can venture into? Yeah.
That's a very good question. I think it really depends on the country to country. Every single country, they have a different way of how they approach students and what they can actually work into. In the business that I was in back in Vietnam, I was doing importing and exporting. So I was working with local people, buying and selling stationery, for example. That is a very easy way to get into the business market. But at the same time, I always tell people before we want to think about getting into business, because we don't even know if we can stay in the country or not, if we cannot pass our study. So I will always tell everyone studying is the first priority. We want to get our actual work permit to be able to work in the country. But if let's say you want to earn some cash on the side, you also want to do something like networking. Meet more people that eventually in the future, when you do finish school, you have a big base of people you can go and ask help from. That's number one. But number two is importing and exporting is the easiest and most liquid type of business. Or another way you can think about it, there's another great book called How was it? How Start with Your Why is by Simon Sinek.
Okay.
His philosophy is saying all you want to do is really find out the reason why you want to go into what you're doing, whatever you're passionate about. Let's say, for example, you want to do a charity for animals, like an animal shelter. If you share your passion to other people, why you want to start this business here, there might be opportunities for you that people also want the same thing. You want to always start with the reason why you're going into business because business just about money is not going to work. Same thing I always tell my client when you're saving money, it's not for the sake of saving money. You want to save money for a particular reason. People say they want to save money, but I always ask why. Are you
Mm.
saving because you want to buy a car? You want to buy a house? You want it for your retirement? So you always want to dig deep down in terms of what you actually want to do, what you're passionate about, and how you can benefit in the business economy, what you can
Okay.
do to provide service for other people, and they want your product and service. You just have to find a problem in the society and you give a solution for that, and people will pay you money.
Wow. Find a problem in the society and people will pay you for that. Okay, so we'll go to another question from one of our audience. Um,
Mm-hmm.
let's get into your personal life.
Okay,
Um,
sure.
how was finance for you when you migrated into a foreign land?
Mm-hmm.
How were you able to
Yeah.
manage what you had? You know, sometimes the
Mm,
demand outside there is very high. Also, when you're there, people from the down here think that, oh,
yeah.
you have enough money. So because you also want to show off a little bit, the little you get,
Mm-hmm.
you send it down home. But then, looking at your personal life, how were you
Yeah.
able to manage the little you had during the time that things were not really going so well for you? How were you able to manage your money? Yeah.
That's actually a really good question. And this is one of, I don't remember who actually talked about this, but I learned this from a podcast before. They say in this world, we will always have problem in our life, but it's not the lack of resources, but the lack of resourcefulness of what you have. If we really want to have something, we can actually get it. Almost everything we put our mind to, we can actually survive or get the answer we want, only if we really want to search for it. But a lot of us, we don't maybe think about it that way. So even for like my personal example, when I didn't have a lot of money, and even though when I was thinking of like sending money back home, what can I do? I went to a lot of volunteer. Sometimes the volunteer, they give out food. So I said, okay, if I do volunteer, I can help out the community. They can give me some food. I'll be good for now. I can focus on my study. If I make some money, let's say if I work in McDonald's, I can send some money back home as well. That is just becoming resourcefulness. realizing like other places that you can go and do more things. Charity work is good. Anything that you are there willing to help other people, they will always offer you. Because why? A lot of people where you go into charity events, they want to help people, just like they will help you if they know what problem you're going through. Or let's say, for example, there was one time I was talking to a elderly person. They actually invited me over to their dinner for Thanksgiving because they knew I was just by myself in Canada, had no network at all. I only met this person on the airplane. I just talked to her. She was talking to me. She liked me. And then she realized I was just the only person. She said, Thanksgiving is coming up. Why don't you come over to my home? I can like feed you some food. I'm like, I am very grateful for that. At the time, I was also a student.
Wow. Wow. But then how were you able to manage your finance? When money gets into your
Mm.
hand, how are you able to manage it?
So this is actually one of a really big concept just for myself when I teach people as well. You always want to do what we call pay yourself first.
Okay.
If you notice, you go to any country at all, what do we actually use? We have a phone. Almost 9 out of 10 people, we all have a phone and we all have a provider in the phone.
Mm.
Let's say if we're giving every month our money to the phone company, who's getting richer? Is it us or is it the phone company? It's the phone company.
Yeah.
So instead of thinking of that way, you just want to aim to get at least 10% of saving just for yourself.
Mm.
Your goal in almost everything you do, anytime you earn income, you want to focus how you can save just 10% for yourself.
Okay.
How I kind of get this rule is that whatever income you make, maybe it's $1,000 or $500 in a month, you just want to allocate as close as possible to 10% for yourself. Save that money aside. Another 10%, I always say, you want to give it away. The reason why you want to give it away is because I believe sowing and reaping. The more you give, the more you will receive. It's just like if we wanted to plant. The reason why planting is so much more successful than hunting is because whenever you plant, you will receive more and abundantly more as well. So I always tell people if you can, you want to always give 10%. Whatever you make for yourself to save, 10% for other people because they also need it as well. And then the rest of the money goes into your bills.
Um, Someone sent a message asking more about okay, how do you network in a foreign land and where do you find them? Yeah.
Mm, okay. Especially as a student, I would say the best
Yes.
people to network is your professor.
Okay.
Your professor is the best way to talk to people. Number one is because they have connection to people their age, meaning
Okay.
maybe they have students before who went and started their own company. So if you have a good relationship with your professor, they can always give you opportunity. If let's say your professor won't work, maybe you want to go to the local pub, you want to go maybe to charity events. You want to go to places where people are exactly like you that can actually grow you. Let's say you want to go into the real estate business, for example, where do you think real estate people will go after their work? Maybe to a pub. So maybe you can go to a pub and you can network over there, see what people are up to. And you never know when someone might introduce you to another person who can get you where you actually want to go.
Wow. Wow. Okay, then also another person said, what is the importance of a migrant with a skill in Canada or Europe? Example, hairdressers, tailor, or even photography, etc.
Can you repeat that question again? It kind of got like stuck a little bit.
Okay, so what is the importance of a migrant with a
Okay.
skill in Canada or Europe? For example, you have a skill in hairdressing, you have a
Mm.
skill in sewing, or you
Mm-hmm.
have a skill in photography or video editing.
Okay.
What is your importance? Like, how do you make good use of that in Canada or Europe or any other foreign country?
Okay.
Mm.
So just so I can like re-answer the question again. Basically, the question is asking what type of skill I should have that can actually help me a lot in the new country. Is that what
Yes,
it is?
yes, yes,
Okay,
yes,
perfect.
yes.
I would say one of the most important skill to have is the ability to be able to communicate. To
Okay.
be able to communicate exactly what you think is a very unique skill. You have
Okay.
to practice on that. the way you articulate yourself. They want to know if, let's say, for example, you go into a meeting, presentation, they are always looking at the person who's presenting. Our focus is on that person. Let's say you want to go to business, it's especially as important, is because that's where you are, that's where you're defining yourself. You only have that maybe 30 seconds to 60 seconds to introduce yourself, to get people's attention, to see what you are actually made of. So I would say the ability to communicate is very important. And I would say the second ability is your mindset. Everything that comes out of your mouth first goes through your mind. So you have to work on positivity. There should be no negativity or any doubt in your mind. It's always, even though, let's say, for example, you get into a car accident, even though it's a person's fault who crashed into you, another way you can think about it is say, what if, let's say, I did not rush? What if, let's say, I left 5 minutes a little bit later? Then I would avoid the accident. If I left 5 minutes earlier, I would also avoid the accident. Maybe I didn't go over the speed limit, I can avoid the accident. So I'm not telling people to put like the blame on themselves. I am giving people the ability to control the emotion. If we give control to other people, we get mad at them, then we feel negative. They will have control of our life. But then if we give ourselves the ability to control our emotion, we can think logically.
Wow, thank you so much. Honestly, I'm sure our audience are going to pick great lessons from this. But before we leave, um, any advice for students and workers on how to plan their life in a foreign land? Just as you entered into a foreign land with no one to support you, you didn't know where to even start from. What about someone, I mean, who just go into a foreign land, maybe a student or someone going to work? The person do not know how to plan when he or she gets there. What advice will you give to the person on how to have a successful plan for him or herself when he gets into such a country? Yeah.
Very, very good question. I always suggest to a lot of people as well, even like for my relatives, I always say in life, everything you do, you want to start with your why. The reason why you're going to another country is because you want something out of it. And you never forget about what you want. Because a lot of us, when we do get somewhere, we always think it's the destination is what matter. Destination is important, but the journey is the most important. What are you doing along the way to actually get you where you want to go? A lot of successful athletes, a lot of successful immigrants, they actually enjoy the process more compared to the end goal. We all want to go to another country because we want to become successful. But what does success actually mean to you? Maybe one person's success is to become a billionaire, but another person's success is that they can help this local community feed the hungry. Every person's success is very different. You have to find out deep inside of you what you actually define success as. As long as you are happy and fulfilled for yourself, then I would say every person's definition of success is going to be different. But as long as you know what yours is, you will always find it. Everything you do should always come back to that. And this is what I kind of shared with Victor as well, is that you always want to operate on what we call the 5F. I always say in the 5Fs, it stands for your faith, it stands for your fitness, it stands for your finance, fun, and also you want to also have friends, and family is the most important as well. It doesn't have to be into this particular order. You can go in any order as you want, but you always want to find out what is most important to you. So when I am talking about faith, if let's say someone is not a spiritual person, you want to always have to give something or even believe in yourself. There is some fun or somewhere out there that brought us where we are today. So I believe in faith. Let's say the second one could be your family and your friends. Maybe this is an important one. We're always working hard, but we always want to remember who we're working hard for. So families and friends could be another one. The third one, let's say, is, for example, your fitness. There's no point if you have a lot of money, but you're not fit in the end of the day. So you always want to work on your fitness as well. You don't have to become a six-pack person, very muscular. As long as you keep yourself healthy, that is what's most important. Number four is you want to have fun. Whatever you do in this world, you always want to have fun doing it because it's not worth it if you're not having enough fun. And the last one is your finance. Finance is very important. A lot of us, we don't really understand it, but we want to get clear on the foundation. I always put finance almost at the very bottom. It's because everything else is more important, but it's still set up our foundation. So it's still going to be over there. So these are like the 5F I always recommend everyone. You want to focus on every decision you have on these 5F, and you want to find out your why. What is the why of the success? What does that mean to you? The why of everything, that's what's going to lead you to where you want to actually go.
All right, but Patrick,
Mm,
what happens if you become very successful
yeah.
when you get to the foreign land there, and then you happen to forget yourself? You know, sometimes when you
Mm,
hit the success line, you relax a little bit. Would you advise anyone who happens to
mhm.
migrate into a foreign land to forget him or herself when he's able to make it a little bit in life out there?
Mm.
Yeah.
So just to like clarify that question as well, are you saying like a lot of us, when we actually get a little bit of success,
Yeah.
we stop doing what we're doing?
Yeah. We relax and enjoy
Oh,
the little we have. Yeah.
yes. It's good that we want to enjoy, whether it's abundant or when it's actually very little. I always give this example. Let's say if you guys eat beef or whatever food is your most favorite, imagine when you had the first bite of the food, you never tell yourself, you know what, I am full. That one
Yeah.
bite, I am super happy. You
Yeah.
want that second bite. And
Yeah.
when you get that second bite, you want the third bite. And you want to find out what is that food that you want, where you keep eating it and you keep having fun eating it. And that's why that is what you want to search for. You can relax, but at the same time, something that have to keep you driving. That's why I always tell people you want to find out what is your why, what actually drives you. Maybe it's helping that community. Maybe it's actually becoming a billionaire. Maybe sending money back home for your parents so they can buy a house. They have a better living community or living condition. So that's why you always want to find like deep down what it is that you're doing for what you're doing exactly.
Okay. Okay. But also, would you advise a student? I mean, you just traveled out to study, and then after
Yeah.
study, you decide to just come back home. Would you advise any student to just come back home after studies, or rather stay back, work a little bit,
Mm,
maybe get some documents to be able to,
yeah.
I mean, do business, import and export, every now and then. Maybe probably the
Mm-hmm.
person don't want to settle um up there, but want to come and settle
Yeah.
down here. But what
Mm-hmm.
advice will you give to such a student after school? Do you return home or just stay
Mm.
there and work a little bit before you go back home? Yeah.
Great question. Great question. I always recommend people to stay in wherever, whichever country you're going to, at least 1 to 2 years. The
Okay.
big reason for that is if we actually look at it, almost our whole life is going to be in the studies. We
Mm,
never really get to explore as much. We never really get to understand the scenery or understand the living style of that particular country. If
okay.
we give at least 1 to 2 years, really seeing that country for what it is and see if that can fit your lifestyle or whatever you can take away if you decide to go back home. Maybe, for example, let's say, was it in Canada, we have Uber. And then when we go back to Vietnam, there's something called Grab Taxi, which is exactly like Uber, but they would have never gotten that idea if they never came to Canada or like in the US. So it's like understanding and what you can take, again, with, let's say, looking at the problem and what you can bring for society. That's how you build business.
Okay.
It's all figuring out the problem and you give the solution. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. We are really grateful. But then before we
No.
will leave, your final words, anything you want to add up to all that we've asked? Yeah.
Mm. So I would say my leaving remarks. Thank you so much again for bringing me on this platform and actually like sharing what I know with you guys. As an immigrant myself, I know it's like these times it's kind of where dreams are made of. We don't really know where we're heading. We're a little bit anxious, but we never want to forget that feeling. Anytime we have that butterfly feeling in the stomach, it means we're about to do something great. So jump on that feeling. And then I would say another thing is you always want to work hard on yourself, not at your job. The job can always find someone to replace you. Never chase after the money, but chase after the person you're meant to become. You want to read more books. A lot of us, we go, and let's say when we actually finish school, we don't read anymore. We're not improving our knowledge. We're not
That's true.
improving the way we see things. So I always recommend a lot of people read books. the most successful people, they put their whole life in just 300 pages. In 300 pages, you get someone's life work. So always invest back into yourself and grow yourself.
Wow. Thank you so much, Patrick. We are really grateful. Thank you for your time. Thank you for joining us on this week's episode of the PV Show. We are looking forward for other international segments with you as time passes on. When we get a new topic, we'll contact you so that you can help us with that. Thank you so much. We are really grateful.